Yeah, I spoke with two girls yesterday at an event, right? And we got into some conversations. I won't say names because I don't, again, while I don't anticipate this getting out to people, sometimes I don't know, the YouTube algorithm is crazy. This is, again, ways for me to say my thoughts and put it out there. So who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But I was talking to two people, and what they said was something I didn't necessarily see in the same way as how they saw it, but we had a conversation about it, and I'm a bit annoyed thinking back at it because this was just yesterday, and I said what I wanted to say, but I felt like I think I could have definitely articulated it a little bit better, but I still got the general idea of what I was wanting to say, which is good. But yeah, man, and I'm gonna put the title of the video here too. But dating and finding a woman, man, it does not become more difficult after 30. That was really the topic, bro. We were talking about a bunch of different things, and then we got onto the topic of dating and how some people are really focused on their their goals, their visions, their purpose, basically. And we got into the topic of, oh, is it more important to be actively searching for a woman as opposed to focusing on what you got to do, or should you be doing that at the same time? And I was basically saying something that I've seen this plenty of times. So honestly, I think making that argument, you could easily be proven that the other way is just as good as well. You can watch plenty of videos that articulate this much better and talk about it in much more depth. But it doesn't necessarily change when you pass a certain age, bro. As a matter of fact, I've seen enough people around me, personally and on the internet, but personally is more important. I've seen this stuff happen. It gets better, bro. It gets better. And in your 20s, you're really at a stage, especially your early 20s, mid 20s, you're in a stage where you really have to figure out who the hell you are before you're looking to bring another person in your life. And it's cool if you have your own ways of, going about it. At the end of the day, we all living our lives and, doing our best. At the end of the day, we all don't have the answers. We don't have all the answers. A lot of us are figuring this stuff out, if not all of us figuring this stuff out as we move, right? So we all have our ways of looking at it. But it doesn't get worse, or it doesn't become more difficult. That was really the point at hand. And one of the examples I was given was, and I give a perfect example because I basically went into some of this. I basically had to say what I did because we got into the topic of, like, what do you do outside of the conversation we were having there, and where they knew me from. And basically told them, right, I'm an entrepreneur. I make music, I do digital art, and I'm also doing ecom, right? So I have digital products, I have that kind of stuff that we use the artwork to monetize with, and then of course the motivational content that works in that as well. So you have all of that, and all of that stuff is monetizable, right? So you do that among other additional streams of income. Those are the main things. And as a business owner, if you're somebody who really, and you have different tiers of how bad you want something, how big you want to get to your business, how serious you take it, all that kind of stuff. But in most cases, as somebody who's focusing on the business, that right there is your main priority. That is your main priority. You're trying to get that out. You want to get that off the ground. You have a vision. I don't like to say trying, bro, because it seems like you're not getting nowhere. And I like to say plan. I like to use that word instead. But you have a vision. That is your priority. In most cases, that is your priority. I know for me, that has been my priority. But that doesn't mean you can't meet somebody along the way. That was another topic too. It makes it more difficult. You doing that, it makes it so much more difficult, if not impossible, to meet somebody on the way. And once you do get to wherever you plan to be, this is from their perspective. Once you do get to wherever you plan to be, you'll basically get the leftovers. What are we talking about here, bro? I will get the leftovers. That's what you're talking about. Maybe from your perspective, because maybe the people you're around, are having fun, going out on dates, getting their body count up, or whatever you want to call it. And again, that's another thing too. I could have gone a little bit further in the debate or whatever we were having, but certain things in some social settings, you don't want to dig too much into. Like, I'm not afraid to communicate my opinion. I'm not afraid to tell you how I feel, but to an extent, right? You gotta read the room sometimes. You don't want to go because some people, again, you don't know what might trigger them in that moment. We don't want to make things awkward in that situation. So that's really what it is, and it's really funny because maybe to your perspective, that's how it is. But I've lived and seen many people, not just online, plenty of people in real life, man, who have met people along the way, whether it's man or woman, met people along the way, guy, girl, it don't matter. Or when they have something established, it's much easier to find the partner you're looking for, especially when you figured out yourself, especially when you've gone through hell building something from the ground up and you have really had to figure out who the hell you are. In some cases, yeah, you have some people that they're focused so much on making money and building a business that you can find yourself in a trap where who am I really, like, what do I really like, because you haven't had that kind of, I guess you haven't had that kind of exposure. But I've made sure to keep myself balanced in that side as well, right? I mean, it's we're in the digital age, bro. It's very easy to meet women all over the place, even if you don't go out as much. But if you go out a lot, I mean, you can meet women very easy, bro, all over the damn place. So you can at least get that experience of talking to people, dating, all that kind of stuff, just enjoying yourself, but not anything that's going to tie you down to the point where now I have to take a good chunk of my focus now and move that into something that is at this point now debilitating me from growing at the speed or at the efficiency or whatever that I want to in my main priority or main priorities. And that's really what it is, bro. That's really what it is. Cause a lot of times I just find it really funny, bro. You can, as a business owner, let's say, and this was an example I basically made. As a business owner, let's say you're editing videos, right? You're doing some content, you shot some content, and then you want to edit this stuff. Instead of editing that stuff in your house, let's say you get up and say, hey man, let me actually go outside. Let me go to the bookstore. Let me go to Barnes and Nobles, bro. And one of the funny things, one of the things they said is like, oh yeah, but if I go to the bookstore, I'm not looking to talk to nobody. Okay, bro, that's cool. You can go to the bookstore and maybe you're not looking to talk to nobody. You can easily say that, but then what if you go to the bookstore, let's say you edit in some content, you get up, and you got a cafe right over there in the bookstore. As a matter of fact, the bookstore that's right close to where I am. We got a bookstore, we got a Starbucks in there. You get up and go get a coffee. We already know where this is going, right? You get up, you get a coffee, cute girl walks up in front of you or behind you, and maybe she drops something or some shit just happens, or you just spark up a conversation. It's very, very damn easy. It's very easy, bro. Very damn easy. And then who knows where it goes from there? That's one easy example. Another example, let's say you go to some event, because again, not everybody's just sitting in their house literally all day and never goes out. Maybe some people are like that, but there are moments where you're gonna go to some sort of event, right? Especially as a business owner, when you got to connect with people and meet different stuff, or go to some networking event. Easy stuff, bro. So many easy ways to start up and spark a conversation. And you ask this person, "Oh, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Like, how do you make your money?" And, "Oh, I do ecom." "Oh, what do you do?" "Oh, I make artwork. I've always struggled with X, Y, and Z. I don't know how to fix it, but the other person knows how to fix it." And then that person struggling with something doesn't know how to do it, but that person they're talking to knows how to fix it. And then boom, you have a conversation and yada, 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 bing, bang, bada, boom. You build up to something and you never know where it goes, right? There's so many different ways that you can interact with people, unless you're just literally 1000% an introvert and you don't like to talk to people, period, bro. I consider myself an introvert at heart. And a lot of times, sometimes I kind of like force myself to go to stuff that I don't want to, but I know it's actually going to have a good chance of helping me in the long run in some way, shape, or form. And, over time I've gotten to the point where, it's like a switch. You can turn on your extroverted self and have those conversations. So, I mean, some people say omnivert, but honestly, bro, if it's up to me, I could be an introvert, bro. If it's up to me, I could be an introvert, and I wouldn't mind staying like that. But again, age we living in, man, talking to people, getting to know people. You can say networking too. I don't like to really say networking unless you have value to give to somebody else. And it's not just you going to somebody and trying to siphon stuff from somebody. You actually have some sort of value where it's a trade-off in some sort of way. Like, I'm talking to you for something, and this is what I do, and we can, possibly help each other in some way, shape, or form. Some way or somehow they're getting something out of this interaction with you. That's not always the case, but having that as a foundational way of looking at it usually helps when it comes to networking. But anyways, that's basically what it is, man. That's basically what it is. So you going back to the baseline topic of things get harder when you, as a man, if you hit 30 and if you've been just focusing on building. You could say that if you are literally just laser focused, I don't even want to say laser focused. If you are literally making, if you are intentionally not wanting to talk to anybody, period, and still, I don't even know how you would do that, because if you're building a business, you can technically do that now, right now, with AI and being able to offset so much stuff with automations and everything. But to an extent, bro, in most cases, I don't think there's anyone that I've seen. Well, maybe a couple, but millionaires, but not billionaires. I saw an article that says we're on track to have, I guess, the first one man business who's been able to grow it just off of AI and become a billionaire. But that's not what I'm saying. The main point is, bro, in many cases, if not almost all cases, you need a team, bro. You have to interact with people. It's not a one man show. And because of that simple fact, you're gonna get to know people. I've seen people start dating from somebody who was I mean, this may be a silly example. She was their assistant and they started dating. But that's one example. That's one example from the others that I've given, right? Or you go to the gym. Again, another perfect example, man. You go to the gym, you just go there for a workout, and something happens where it's a simple interaction, man. We're humans, we are social creatures at heart, bro. That's what we are. So at the end of the day, certain things can easily happen. If you're at a point now where you really want a partner, then now you can intentionally put yourself in those situations and make it even more likely for you to find that person. You can actually now intentionally, instead of going to 3 or 4 events every other week or 3 or 4 events every month, now I'm going to 7 or 8 events. Now I'm putting myself out there even more. Now I'm actively going out and talking to people. But just because you're not actively doing that doesn't mean you're still not going to have those interactions, bro. That's all it is. That's all it is, man. I'm saying it doesn't matter what age you are, bro. It doesn't matter what age you are. If anything, once you're established, doesn't matter if you're 20, because you got people in the teens established. So it doesn't matter what, but then they still got to work on the social skills, and there's certain things they still have to experience. But it doesn't matter, bro. If you're 30 years old and you're established, you got your stuff together, you know who you are. I'd say it makes it even easier. I'd say it makes it even easier, without question. It makes it even easier, because not only do you now know who you are, not only do you not have to be unsure about certain stuff. No, you know who you are, you know what you're looking for, and you don't got to waste time. You can easily work your way through all the bullshit. You've dated enough, you've talked to enough women to now, or men, to now know what you're looking for. And that's it, bro. That's all it is. So I can't say I agree with that. I can see where they're coming from, but I guess you could also say it depends on your goals, man. I guess it depends on your goals. Because if you're somebody who you don't have a business, you you got your day job, and you're just looking for a wife and kids and stuff. I mean, even then, it still doesn't make even then it still doesn't make sense. If you're 30 and unfortunate, maybe you've been dating since you're 20, and 10 years pass, you still haven't found that one. You've broken up a number of times. It doesn't get that much more difficult, bro. It only gets a little bit more easier, because now, or a lot easier, because now you know what you're looking for, and you don't have to waste as much time. There are plenty of women. There are 4 billion people on this planet. There are plenty of 4 billion plus of each gender on this planet. And that number is continuing to grow. It gets easier. There's more than 1,000% certainty that there is somebody who is exactly what you're looking for in any stage of your life. There's somebody there exactly what you're looking for. And once you have money and once you're established, if we're talking from the perspective of a business owner, even from a regular person, I don't even like to say the word regular, even from a person who's living the standard way of living, you're established. Assuming you've saved some money, assuming you've built some sort of system, as far as you have an apartment, your living situation sorted out, whatever, bro. And again, there's no timeline for that shit. I mean, generally speaking, by then you figured something out, generally speaking, right? But I mean, everybody's path is different. But you have that stuff set up, so now it makes it easier to deal with the other things. If you're 22 years of age, you can have your stuff together, but not everybody has their stuff together at 22 years of age. I would say most people don't have their stuff together at 22 years of age. So not only are you managing that, but now you're also managing a girl who has her own stuff, and we're not even going to get into that conversation. You have your man. You're dealing with a whole bunch of other stuff now, right? And then this day and age, women expect you to pay for damn near everything, unless again, you have both sides. You have both sides. It depends on the woman you're looking for. Not every woman is like that. Not every woman is like that. So you have that too. But again, if you're somebody that's saying, "Hey man, I'm still figuring myself out. My money is it could be better, but I don't. I would want to pay for everything for my female. What do you think that's going to do to you financially if you're not actually able to do that? But you're kind of trying to stretch yourself just to prove a point. As you get older, more responsibility is going to be added onto you. If you have a child, bro, you're cooked. That's what I'm saying, man. I think I don't think it's the right way to look at it from a perspective of the older you get, the more difficult it is, especially as a man. The older you get, the more difficult it is to find a woman. You've seen the talks enough times that from a woman's perspective, you're on a timeline for certain things, and it might become a little bit more difficult from the standpoint of having a child, or your looks may not be as youthful or whatever. But that's a separate topic, bro. On the topic of men, I don't think it becomes more difficult, and I've seen plenty of examples, and overwhelmingly enough proven that it doesn't matter. If anything, it's easier. So I mean, that's really what it is, man. But in the end, I mean, that's my perspective. I've seen enough from people I've known personally, and people I've seen on the internet, both perspectives, people who I kind of sort of know too, to confidently say it does not get more difficult, bro. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. I know that my empire and what I'm planning to build, what I've envisioned, what I'm working towards every single day is what sets me up to comfortably and confidently know what I'm looking for in a partner, and to understand that because of what I've sacrificed, because of what I've built, I don't have to settle for anything less, nor will I, because I know my value. And going through a lot of those trials, going through the fire, teaches you that. It teaches you the discipline, it teaches you the grit, it teaches you the dedication that is also required, especially if you're planning to build a family, even if you're planning to marry this person, which again, that's it's a different topic. I have my thoughts on that, but that's not the video for that. If you're planning to do that stuff is not easy, bro. A relationship is a whole another full-time job. So if you have a full-time job, you manage in a business, and you also in a relationship, that's 3 full-time jobs, bro. Because you got to constantly be reassuring this girl. You got to constantly be reassuring her. You got to constantly be reassuring her. Again, it kind of depends on the girl, but to an extent, right? If you can't go 4 or 5 days and not text her, right? Unless again, it's a girl that's a little lower maintenance. But again, in most cases, again, it's a relationship, communication, bro. You get there's certain things in a relationship that in most cases is universal, and it takes a good amount of effort. And if you're not ready for that, you're cooked, bro. You're cooked. It's definitely doable to have a business, and be like a full-time student, have a full-time job, and still be in a relationship. Plenty of people have done it. So if you're gonna use, oh, I have a business as an excuse to not be in a relationship, but you want to be in a relationship, I could say still that's not strong enough. That's not a strong enough excuse. You can still do that stuff, but you have to manage your time. But if you're somebody who's saying, no, I don't want to be in a relationship because I'd prefer to focus on my business, that's fine too. That's fine too. That's not an excuse. I don't want to be in a relationship because I'd like to put the majority of my time and focus and my dedication within what I'm wanting to build and what I plan to build right now. My empire, my future, and community of people that I will continue to help and grow and allow them to do what they want to do. And again, just add value to whoever it is you're trying to add value, that you want to add value to. That's really what it is, bro. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do, you have to be ready for that responsibility. Yeah. It doesn't get Life does get harder, but as you grow and as you expose yourself, as you adapt, you're built for it. But dating for a man does not become more difficult if you are doing what you need to do right now and building the foundation that you need to do to give you that confidence and give you an idea of an understanding of what it is you're looking for. If you're doing what you need to do from now, it does not become more difficult, bro. You do not get leftovers unless that's what you're looking for, because there are plenty of women just as hungry as you as far as trying to find a relationship in that stage of their lives, and they weren't sleeping around or they weren't messing around too much because, again, they're holding themselves back for the person that they're looking for. That's all it is, bro. So if somebody's saying you're gonna get the leftovers, not necessarily, bro. Especially when you're looking at the statistics of how many people on this damn planet. There's 100% many people out there for you. All you gotta do is find one.